What we used to do, and this is serious, I don't know if any of you guys can relate to this. We used to sit up almost every single night and we would discuss other people's music. This is before we even were making records. And I'm talking, man, I'm talking 1983. Who in here was born in 1983? Yeah, I figured that. Okay, okay. So we're sitting up in 1983 listening to, I don't know, be it David Bowie Fashion, Kraftwerk, Trans-Europe Express, Sly and the Family Stone, and Funkadelic, and whatever else was on the radio that was played by a guy named Mojo. And this is at a time when radio was more like you would consider pirate radio to be, which almost doesn't exist anymore. It was free, in a sense. You could listen to, you could hear whatever that particular personality was wanting to play. That was the identity of their show. That's what made their show. And this one guy, really, we latched on to him because he came on at midnight to 5 in the morning. And we'd lie in the bed, man. Juan would face east and I would face west. My feet would be in his face and his feet would be in my face. And we're lying in the bed and we're sitting there and we're like these two kids. And we're thinking about how these guys made their records and what they must have been thinking about when they made it, which I'm sure they had no idea what they thought when they were making the music. And we just assumed that they were so deep and so intellectual. And we really built up this sort of impression of what we thought represented or what it took to qualify or to make music. We kind of went way over the limit, but that's what we kind of had no other impressions coming from Detroit. There was nothing happening. So we built up this fantasy impression of what we thought it took to qualify yourself to become this kind of person, this kind of musician, this kind of, expert.
I think that club culture is threatened, seriously threatened to almost be non-existent. We have a real problem with festival culture. Has become so huge that I think it's threatening the development of a new club scene, not just in Holland, but in France, in Germany, wherever there's huge festival cultures. It has a profound effect on young people and what they do with their money and what they do with their time. People tend to have less money for the summer when they have to make decisions on these festivals, which are cool, but DJs are making such a tremendous amount of money to play them that promoters can't possibly open nightclubs. They could possibly open a nightclub, but the problem is that most of the DJs and the agents are a little bit greedy, what they're asking for. They don't understand that club culture is very different than festival culture. You don't come in for 2 hours and make 20,000 euros. You go in for 6 hours and you pour your heart out for these people, and they reciprocate by giving it back to you. And that's what is missing right now, and what's really seriously in danger. I think it's just that it's gotten a little bit much. Promoters really are like overly optimistic that they're going to make money. Most of 9/10 of the festivals fail. Lots of promoters go broke doing it. Lots of promoters are forced to do it because they can't do anything but it. Because they can't even consider any other opportunities because it just seems as though you can't get the talent to come otherwise. It's a festival. Holland has, 150, 200 festivals a summer? It's fucking incredible. Why? It's too many. So I think club culture needs to find its way back to the front. And with it comes another creative class. A new generation of creatives come along.
How did you find last night? You played for the International Radio Festival last night for the opening party.
It was fun. I had a good time. I mean, come on. I'm playing for people that appreciate the music, understand what the cause and what the meaning of it is. We're trying to build a bigger and better thing in the right way. It's not easy. It's a business, but you don't want to remind the audience that it's a business. You want to do it so that it means something. It's for something. Normsky's here for the same reasons. We all have our sort of mission and goal, but the most important thing is, over all the other business and all the other things, is the music. And sometimes that gets forgotten in all of this. You understand what I mean? I tell you, once again, I'm not perfect. I've made some mistakes, and I'm sure I pissed some people off along the way. Was that construction? Never mind. Okay. I'm sure I've, made some mistakes along the way, but I always fight hard for that. It's important, man, just to stop for 2 minutes. I've been with some guys who I won't say their names who have been really, I've seen them be rude. I've seen agents, I've seen agents be rude to people. I've seen promoters be rude to people. I just don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't understand it. If you ever get the chance to really do something in this business, depending on if you want to be if you want to go professional as an executive or some sort of administrative position, or if you want to be an artist, don't forget people, you know, because there's some kid in line just like you waiting for the chance. And you got to remember that, you know, because that's the only reason I think that certain art forms perpetuate, they continue, unlike the massive commercial art forms. The underground, the artistic, the alternative forms, they exist because we encourage each other. We kind of lean on each other a little bit. Don't think I don't need you, because I need you, you know, and I always try to say thank you. I even have a MySpace account. I answer every single one of my own messages. I don't have anybody, I don't pay anybody to answer them. I don't, you know, I do my own.
There's some strange places, for sure.
And you haven't released a record last 13 years.
I have done other things. I've produced festivals, which was a big thing for me. I've also produced a couple of records with other artists on Transmat, about 9 or 10 records. I've been very busy outside of making my own music, producing and developing other artists. Making music is great. I love to do it. But I also like developing talent. I love it.
You asked me a question, or I said to you about making some music, and I said to you that I write the names of my songs before I write the songs. Well, when I write music, guess what? I make the music without drums, period. I add the drums last, because everything I make is like I'm making it for a symphony. I've always made every piece of music like that, with the strings, the layers, the textures. That's the way I make music. So for me, the music is in the perfect, this is where it belongs. It's become 300 and 400 songs a week available. I mean, it's a very interesting time. The whole music industry is kind of absorbed. It's kind of like a black hole. It's kind of absorbing itself, and it's not reproducing anything creative. And we have Pandora and all these new ways people listen to music. And I believe it's great, it's convenient, but it's not paying the artist properly. So it's a weird time right now in the music industry. But I am not giving up on it by any means. Just trying to find a way to make it work for everybody.
So
is to not, first of all, I don't put myself in positions where I'm not enthusiastic about the sets. Number one, if I'm going to do gigs, and I do a lot of them, to perform music, to actually go out and do a live show and perform it, I haven't done that in years. I've been DJing all the time because I love to do it. I've always been good at doing it, and it's something that I can be in direct contact with people with. Being in the studio, if I was to go back in the studio, which I'm doing now, but this is a special production I'm doing for this movie thing, but if I was going to go back in and make an album, I would stop making music, stop playing records altogether, because I can't play music and make music. I have to cut one off. I can't do it. I can't make music for 2 or 3 hours, turn off the gear, and come back tomorrow. I have to lock in. It's lock in, get it done. I cannot walk out that room until it's done. Anybody like that here? Yeah. How many of you turn it off and come back to it? You gotta stay in that room. You gotta lock down. You really gotta lock down. And then you have to work on it so much to the point where you get tired of listening to it, and then you don't listen to it. And then you turn it back on and you hear all the shit you did right and all the shit you did wrong. And that's when you know you did something. But don't dance and think you just made some great shit. Let others be the ones to tell you you made some great shit. You just make it. You just make it.
No, I wasn't upset with the dance industry. I was upset with the music industry. I wasn't so much upset. I just decided I didn't want to get involved. It's kind of like bureaucracy, bullshit, you know, games. You know, I don't want some guy who knows nothing about my music telling me how to make a hit record when I don't want to make a hit record. I just want to make music, and I want to make it for people that I think would like to hear it. But the music industry is not about making music for people that want to hear it. The music industry is about selling records. So I decided, fuck that shit.
Today the technology to make electronic music is affordable and accessible. How does that compare to when you first started making music?
Well, I think the technology is definitely, I wouldn't say it's cheaper. I would say it's about the same. In some cases, it's more readily available. True, you can go almost everywhere and buy it. That's the big difference, is that you can get it everywhere. The price of it is definitely not that much cheaper. It was going to happen eventually. I mean, for us, it was more or less through mail order and through a few little keyboard shops in town, and we would go there for hours and just until the manager told us to get the hell out. That was pretty much how we started, you know.
What equipment did you use when you started making music?
Well, we used a lot of sequential circuit stuff. We used some Yamaha keyboards, Korg, drum machines, early ones such as 808s and 909s, early sequencers. So we were pretty primitive, but the basic element for making music is still the same today. It's still a sequencer, it's still a drum machine or some sort of drum software, and it's still a keyboard or some sort of keyboard software. So the only thing that's changed is the fact that now you can do it with one particular instrument or control panel or computer. Back then, you had to have 4 and 5 keyboards. You were like, you know, the man with 20 arms. But I actually still like to be the man with 20 arms. I think it's more fun than being the guy on the computer.
Techno City, folks, at its best. Welcome home.
Inside this building was a theater. And they tore out the theater. And they made a car park. But they kept the actual theater. So you're parking your car in a theater. And it's fucking scary. Amazing. Look at it, man. Can't you feel it? Can't you see it? I mean, look at these arches. They've been broken off, totally destroyed. You know? At one time, where we're standing was air. People were dancing, singing in this place at one time. This was amazing. This was music. This was life. Yeah, man. It's like the Titanic, you know? Like I said, it's like the Titanic. No, I don't feel sad. I feel angry. More angry, you know? Not so sad. Angry. Angry at stupid people. Because nobody cares about, in America especially, nobody cares about these kind of things, you know? People in America tend to let this kind of shit just die, let it go. No sort of respect for the history of this. This is nice. I, being a techno, electronic, futurist, high-tech musician, I totally believe in the future. But as well, I believe in a historic and well-kept past. I believe that there are some things that are important. Now, maybe this is more important like this, because in this atmosphere, you can realize just how much people don't care, how much they don't respect. And it can make you realize how much you should respect.